it'll send it. It's just that it creates a big ass buffer so people that have like shit internet can just watch from the buffer. It's just that 3 minutes is a little much. It's just set
This
to
is cool.
60 seconds now.
You know where they're missing this now. Alright, cool. So,
Just double check we're live. I just need to check the audio, but I don't know how to bring this up on my computer.
on your phone.
So I'm trying.
Send the link. Send the link to yourself on Facebook, and then go outside and listen to it.
Can you mail me that link to myself? Or send it to me?
You know, it'd be dope if I could put like some chill background music while I'm coding.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
Make sure it's royalty.
Are we selling it? No.
No, good point.
That's all you gotta worry. If you're making profit out of it, then yeah.
Oh yeah.
I had that moment where I was still working in my other place and they're like, no, we can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody talks technology, but it isn't about data. It's about creating something. Maybe I'll think of the next insanely great thing. I want to put a ding in the universe.
You sent it to me via email, right?
Mm-hmm. So your FIU okay?
I'm gonna do something new here. We're gonna see how that works out. Hmm? Oh, is there there's no power coming to it? Can you look into that? Check to see if it's on.
So none of the switches are working? These two are not working? Yeah. Oh, it's just I guess this.
So it's for you to. Did you send it to?
To your FIU account? You should see all my flagged emails I have to go through.
Yeah, that's what I did to star.
Otherwise, I
and
lose
go back.
I completely
Yeah.
lose track. Like,
Yeah.
I just can't. Wait, did I send it? UP school. Yeah. I didn't know. No. I have that, and then what's this one? I got my reminders list. For UP. Things that just come to mind, and I'm like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta tell this person that.
It's the same we're offline.
No, that's not gonna work. Boo hoo hoo. Let's just see my screen. Cool. All right. So, how many of you guys were at the last workshop? Raise your hands, please. All right, cool. So, a pretty good percentage of you guys. Did everybody sign up for FIU Tech? Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. So, I guess I'll go over it a little bit more. So, pretty much what Slack is a pretty awesome chatting platform with tons of awesome developer integrations, but it's great for fostering communities. So, UP along with FIU hackers and ACM, we've been building this like a tech community, pretty much introducing you guys to all these awesome concepts and pretty much like everything that you need to like pretty much allow it to thrive. But I'm kind of going on the side note right here. But so we're using Slack as our platform. So what my recommendation to you would be is that once you download Slack and you install it on your computer, this is pretty much how it'll look. It'll have a different color scheme like this, but we customize ours. I customize mine for this. So within it, there's multiple channels. So each channel has their own topic, where each conversation can be siloed. So for those of you that really want to continue on with your web development growth and actually develop some skills into it, that you can actually take this out into the real world and build a portfolio, make some profit, or actually start building a career, I definitely would recommend joining the web development channel. And as you can see, there's already some conversation getting started onto it. And a person was asking if they wanted to publish a personal website, what would you go about doing that process? So I've been usually pretty good with responding, but this past week has been pretty hectic. So soon I'll be posting a reply, and all you guys will actually be able to see the feedback that I give this person, and you guys can actually apply it to yourselves. So cool thing about it is that Skype, well, it's not Skype, that's work talk. Slack also has a mobile app that you guys can actually install on and pretty much just use further. Plus, there's also cool things like such as Giphy integration. So like pretty much make the conversation interesting. But I definitely recommend using Slack. There's a lot of things that's going to be happening in the fall and even more in the spring. And this is probably the main place that you guys could go to actually stay in the loop for that. All right, so let's go back a little bit. So let's do a quick recap on what we did last workshop. So first thing we did was that we created a GitHub account, all right? And how many people went back and actually played with Git? Nobody on the computer. All right, one person, awesome. Anybody go back and actually tweak their sites a little bit more and play it around and fine tune it? All right, cool. So we have a few heads going up. So at least these people are interested in continuing it. So let's go to wherever my demo is. All right, cool. All right, cool. Give me a quick second. Let me pull up the URL for mine. I know so a lot of people like during the end might have been stepped out, but if you had finished publish your site and you had pushed it to Git, the final step to actually get your site published was to go to the settings and pretty much scroll down to the GitHub pages section, and that's where you would actually be able to publish your site. So once you do that, it'll give you a link. You can actually go to that link and you can actually see what site it was that was published. And it's now, this is being pretty much live right now on the internet and exposed. You got a question?
Can you go again on the how you publish it?
We're gonna be releasing a video, so I think like exactly, cool. All right, cool. So this is the site that we ended up building. Did anybody not get to this point? All right, cool.
Can you check if the blockers in it?
The block?
It is.
Oh.
Hit scene.
Oh, okay, cool.
There we go. Let me make it black.
Okay, there's a wall. It'll update soon. So because we're also streaming this online. All right, cool. So we covered in our last workshop HTML and CSS, and just a quick recap on what these things are. I'll display my code here. Yeah. So who can tell me what CSS is? Who knows?
It stands for creative, like cascading style sheet.
Great, good, cool. Here's a sticker. That's not bad. Does anybody remember what HTML stands for? All right, awesome. Can you come get a sticker? All right, cool. Now, what is the purpose of HTML?
Your website is supposed to be a skeleton.
All right, cool. Good. Mnemonic right there. All right, awesome. And what would be the purpose for CSS? Oh, you already got your sticker, bro.
We already got 5 stickers of each. So
Yeah.
try to answer the question.
It's to create a thematic, consistent thematic thing across your website. Keep all the style.
Not bad. A bit close. Who else has another question? Can you come get a sticker? Yeah, go ahead.
It's like cascading style sheet, so every single style you use all the elements to make it
Yeah, so like we use pretty much we use CSS to give it the aesthetics of your site. So this is what beautifies your website. You come with a sticker right here for you. There you go. All right, cool. What a few more things. Who can tell me what a tag is? All right, cool, good. So it's pretty much what what HTML uses to pretty much define what type of content it is. So like sure, CSS, yeah, cool, and that's good. So altogether we have two components, HTML and CSS, which together helps us build the structure of our website and actually beautify it. Now, let's say we want to start actually adding functionality to our website. Now, HTML and CSS, those are just markup and aesthetics things. Now, we have to actually use a programming language to actually define, hey, I want this element or this, whatever it is, to perform this action on here or actually listen on some of these stuff. Now, in the browser, the programming language of the browser or of the web is called JavaScript. And that's where we're pretty much gonna run into next. So, and does anybody have their browser open? Please do so. All right, cool. Now we're gonna just do a quick little. So if you do right click and click on inspect element, let me display mine so it'll show up in yours. It'll show up like this at the bottom. And so actually show you the actual HTML of the website. But this is a really cool thing. If you see a really cool website, you guys wondering, oh, how is this built? By doing the right click, it'll show you the HTML that you guys can further discover how they actually went ahead and built the website. So if you want to see the whole website, web page as a whole, you can right click again and let me see. Sorry. And click on view page source, and I'll create a whole new tab with the whole code of the HTML and just the HTML for this web page, just in case you guys have some curiosity. Let's go back. So we open the inspect element. So this is what this dialog at the bottom is, the Chrome developer tools, and it's pretty much tooling that allows us to further debug or inspect the contents of what we are building as is being rendered on the browser. So the first thing is the elements, which shows us the HTML. There's a second tab there's another tab right here right next to it that is network. So if I refresh my page and I click on all, you see that there's a bunch of pretty much columns that's getting injected. These are all the contents that the browser makes a request to the server for your website. So first it goes to the HTML of our website, right? You remember this link right here, which is how we said, hey, import the styles for Font Awesome. The first request that the browser will make will be to this HTML page, and then the HTML will tell it, hey, there's this reference to this style sheet at this URL. Please also fetch it because the website is dependent on it. So what the browser will do is that it will pretty much, let's go back a bit. It'll fetch the HTML. The HTML will tell it to fetch other CSS and other JavaScript files, and then pretty much the browser will take that, render it all together, and compile it. And pretty much what the end result will be is your web page. And this is pretty much a way you can inspect everything that the browser is calling for. And you can see it's actually even calling for images. If you click on it, we can see what that image will be, and so on and so forth. Let's go in a little bit deeper into it. But what we want to care about right now for this workshop is the console. This is the JavaScript console, and this is a REPL. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Who can tell me what a REPL is or what it stands for? Nobody? Has anybody ever heard of a REPL? All right, cool. So it's an acronym, REPL, that stands for Read, Evaluate, Print Loop. So pretty much it is that you write code. So I say var A, right? And then it will read it and evaluate it, and it will print it out, and it will loop again. So it says, okay, what's the next input that you want me to do? So each input that I provide, it will evaluate, execute it, and print it out to me. So I created a variable A. Now, I guess this was the first lesson or topic. The way you create variables in JavaScript is by using the var keyword. How many okay, let's go back. How many people are taking programming 1 and 2? How many person have taken any programming classes? No. Yeah, okay, majority. Okay, cool. So in Java, or any other static, classical language that we learn here at FIU, if we want to create an instance variable, we usually say what the type is. So int a is equal or has a value of 31, for example. In JavaScript, the equivalent would be using var. Cool. So now if we click on a and tell it, hey, what is a? It'll tell us that, hey, a stores a value of 31. Easy for you. Now if we go and say a plus 45, what do you guys think will happen? To what? To a? Okay, cool. What would, okay, since a is what will it evaluate to? 76. Let's check that out. Awesome, cool. You already got one, but you're in the back. There you got one. Come here, get a sticker. Cool. So a stores the value of 31. Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit rudimentary for this now, but like it'll easily pick up. So when we say a, which contains the value of 31, and add it to this actual value, which is 46, it'll go ahead, reference 31, and pretty much do 31 plus 46. Very, very, very beginner, novice programming topic. Very 101. All right, cool. So now we can go ahead and actually change what the value of a has, right? Since we know we created a variable a. So now we can say a is equal to a string. So now we want to actually add text and store it to that text within a variable. So say a is equal to hello world. And it outputs hello world. Cool. Let's see, what is a? Is a 31 or is a hello world? Anybody? Huh? All right, cool. And in fact, it actually is hello world. Sticker for you. Actually, you could get a button. All right, cool.
Oh, everyone's gonna get buttons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
the stickers are only for
oh, okay, cool. A is hello world. Now, what can someone tell me what happens if I do a plus 45? It would have got an error?
45 would be at the end of hello world.
Correct. That's a stick for you, sir. So it'll be hello world 45, which is not an actual error. So a lot of people said that there will be a syntax error. Now, JavaScript is a loosely typed language. Now, what does that mean? Notice how before we declare that a stores the value of 31. In Java, we would have to say that a is a type int, and only ints can be stored inside of an a. Now, when we went ahead and switched it and say, hey, a holds a string, normally Java would throw us an error. But since JavaScript is a loosely typed language, it's able to infer that, hey, this is a string, so therefore the type of a will be changed to a string. So now we don't have to worry about types. Awesome, because that makes Java really, really complicated and annoying. So now we just need to make sure that, hey, whatever our variable stores the value or the stores the actual values that we actually care about. So we don't have to worry about typing, which is something I like about JavaScript because it allows me to be lazy.
So it's something like when you define the variable, you say var a, it can be any type.
Yeah. So notice when I first, exactly, it could be any type, really, pretty much. Var allows us to create a variable that holds any type or any data. Now notice, actually, yeah, you already said that. Now, okay, one more thing. In Java, if I just said int a or whatnot, declare int a, I don't know if that will throw an error, but what happens is that it will store by default null. In JavaScript, we have undefined because we have not defined what a stores a value, what the value of a is. So that will be your default null in JavaScript. Cool. Now let's go to the next step. So let's actually do some math for a quick second. So we want to, in all programming languages have, well, majority of them have functions and methods, which is pretty much a set of instructions that you can execute, and it will go ahead and repeat those set of instructions for you. So let's create a addition method. So I'll say add, and when I say, I guess, x and y. Now if I pretty much execute this, it'll give me a reference error because add is not defined. So we have to go ahead and define add, right? So let's say var add. I guess it's equal to x, y. Now it's telling me that x is not defined. So what's happening is that I'm not forming the function correctly. Now to create a function, we have to use the function keyword. It's pretty straightforward. So function, and what is the name of that function? So I want to say add, so that way I can call it later on. All right. So I want the first parameter to be x and the second parameter to be y. Yes. Yeah, I'm speaking quite loud right now. But I guess I'll try to talk a little bit more into the microphone. How's that? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So notice how I use the curly braces? That whatever is inside the curly braces is the body of that function. So whenever I call add, whatever is inside of these curly braces is what will be executed. So I want it to return me a value, right? So I don't want it to say added and it just does this instruction. I want it to tell me, okay, what is the sum of x and y? So when I execute add, I want it to return x plus y. And I end it when it's a semicolon. And it returns me undefined, which is cool. Because we haven't evaluated anything or executed anything. All we've done is declared a function named add. So now if we call say add and enter, it'll actually return us the actual function that we created. This is something really important about JavaScript that we're going to look at right now. In Java or a static language, this normally will throw us an error because we actually have to execute that function. Now JavaScript allows us to pretty much have functions be data. So we can actually pass data, the function around as a parameter or assign it to a variable and whatnot. In Java, we can't do that. We have to use a class and declare a function within a class. So let's go ahead and actually execute our add and see what the end result is. So let me, actually no, let me not clear. So I'm gonna say add 1 and 2. And our return is 3. Let's make sure that this works. 3 and 20, 23. Sounds good. Now let's say -3, 17. So now we've kind of tested our function at a very basic level and we see that it's working. Now what happens if we do string 20, -320? So we know that it's working. However, there's a quirk that you need to understand about the language. Is that the add does two types of operation. It does an arithmetic operation, which is summing up numbers, and it does a concatenation operation. It serves as a concatenator. So if there's one of them that's a string, it will actually take the other element and actually add it to that string. It won't do it other ways. All right, cool. So that was our function. So let's play around with the next concept, which is objects. Now, JavaScript is not really an object-oriented language. So how do we use objects within JavaScript, and objects are the primitive unit of data store, I guess, that we can actually compose for ourselves. So let's create a new variable called b, and I want to store an object into b. And that's done. That's it. Nothing else. By doing the double curly braces, that right there is called an object literal expression. So I'm literally saying, hey, JavaScript, this is an object. Create an object. I can also go ahead and do new object and actually call the object. I guess the super root object type of the language. And we see that in fact b returns object. All right. So let's go ahead and say, let's do it again. So b is this, and it still returns object. And if we so it's output b, we still get object. All right, cool. Now let's actually start storing data within our object. So I remember we created a function and we also had a variable. Let's make sure it still exists right now within the current runtime. So I call it a, good, and I type add, and those variables actually hold data within them. So let's add that data into our object. So we're gonna add a property of an object, right? So we're gonna say b dot, let's say I want to say message. So I want to have my object to have a key, or at least a property of message, and I want that message to actually have the value of what's in A. And it will return us hello world. Cool. So now if we press B, we actually see that in our message, yeah, in fact, there is a property called message that has the value of hello world. Let's keep going further. So it's going to say b dot math, or let's say b dot sum is equal to the value of add. So notice how before when I said that the function or this method now is actually a data type, this is exactly what I did. I passed the data of what that function is into a property of an object. So now my object, if I print it out, actually has now a property of sum, which is a new function in it that I didn't have before. Because if we click here, well, it trickles up, so we don't have to do that anymore. So it remembers it in memory. Cool. So it'll actually be in it. So now I can do b dot sum. I'll do 1 and 2, and that will output 3. Cool. All right, cool. So now I'm going to clear my console real quick so I can go back to the top. All right. But that's a bit of a messy way of kind of doing it. So let's go ahead and actually create that same object in a much neater fashion. So I'm going to say var b. And remember how we created our object literal? Create a new line. And inside of it, I'm going to say message is equal to hello world. Now, can anyone see something different now? The colon. All right, good. I don't know if you got one, but here's a sticker for you. Cool. So when we were declaring our variables, we use the equal sign. But within objects, whenever we want to say, hey, the property or the variable of this object is equal to, and we want to assign it a value, we use the colon instead of the equal sign. And that's the new concept of today. All right, cool. So now we say bi. Actually, let me run that back. If you press up, it will pretty much go back to the previous command that you wrote. And if you press shift enter, then it'll just pretty much create a new line and not actually execute that statement. So the next thing I wanted was my function. So I can say sum is equal to function x, y, my curly braces, which will contain a function body. And in one line, I could just say return x plus y. Real quick 4-liner object. All right. So if I press return, good, no errors. So now if I enter B, awesome, we got our object that has a function which is called sum, just like we did before. And now we can actually say b dot message and then b dot sum 1 plus 3. Cool. So our sum function still works, and our message actually gets stored in our object that we just declared using one assignment rather than constantly saying b dot message, b dot with this and that and whatnot. Now, cool. Now we did something different here. Can anyone tell me what happened to the add from this line? Why am I not using it? No? All right, cool. So this function right here that you see, the body is identical to the function add. However, add was a named function. In this case, I'm creating an anonymous function, which pretty much does not have a name because we're already assigning it to a value. So we do not need to pretty much add a name to it and further polluting our scope with additional variables that we might override. So you definitely will encounter something like this. And anonymous functions are common when we're passing functions to other functions. Sometimes we don't need to name them, and we'll just write an anonymous function right there without the name, and just, hey, okay, whenever you're executing this, also executes these set of instructions. All right, cool. All right. So far, I think we've covered at least the very, very first start of some of the important concepts. Oh, and just like other languages, they do have conditional and constructs. So if true, a statement is true. So if 1 is equal to 1, oh, sorry, I want it to return true. Uh-oh. And in fact, we have an illegal return statement. Uh-oh. But guess what? Because this is not a function. So we're going to say console.log, and we'll output true. All right. We enter, and we actually see that true gets returned. Now, true actually gets outputted here because we're using console.log. For those of you that have done Java, this is the equivalent of system.println, and it'll actually print it out to a console. So if I change this message here, hello class. I apologize for a quick second. I needed to do a quick change. Sorry. Okay. Oh, okay. I know why. Sorry about that. That was some quick production issues going on. All right, cool. Let's go back to our console. So yeah, so actually I changed hello the message that's inside the console.log, and actually that gets outputted into our console, our REPL. Same thing. All right, cool. So we see that we've created like we did a conditional statement. So 1 is equal to 1, and that is true. And we're gonna do another one, which is triple equals. And that's also true. Because it was true, it also outputs hello class. Now, there's a key thing to know about the double equals and the triple equals. Now, the double equals is, or let's say the strict equal is, sorry, the triple equal is a strict equalizer. So what it means is that it checks for both the value and the type of the data to make sure that they are correct. Now, let's see an example of that. So if I do if 1 is equal to, with double, the string value of 1, let's console.log that. How about them apples? And it actually outputted. Now, this is a true statement, and it seems to be true, but however, like, if this is not the intended behavior, this is a really a caveat of JavaScript that you must understand to be able to like mitigate certain bugs. So which is why, as a best practice, it's recommended that you always use triple equals. So we see that it actually didn't output the message statement, so it must have been false. It does say 1, but it is a string value of 1 and not an integer, so therefore it won't evaluate. So actually, let me press up. Get that back. All right, cool. So if I remove 1 and make it actually an integer, now it'll run. We also have for loops. So I create my counter. I is equal to 0. And I say, well, I is less than 10. Execute and increment at each interval end of each iteration. So I'm saying, okay, console.log. For each iteration, I'll put a message. No, Batman. So we see that here it tells us that, hey, it actually did Batman 10 times. Rather than outputting it 10 times, it just say, hey, it just adds a little badge there just to reduce the amount of output. But if we say Batman plus I, then it'll actually create 10 lines. Okay. And those are our for loops. Now let's talk about lists. Right. So normally in the like pretty much the most primitive data structure for creating holding data is a list or an array. So JavaScript does have an array. So we could say ARR is equal to, we could say new array, but then again, that gets pretty Java-ish and that just brings nightmare. So we could just use the square brackets, similar to like how we use the curly brackets to pretty much just do a literal array declaration. Cool. And we can actually add data into it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Enter, get undefined, no errors, good. So now if we output ARR for short for array, we actually get our array of 8 elements, or sorry, 7 elements. It's the programmer in me. I forgot to put the 0. Now, if I say array at index of 0, I can change that value of that. And I'll say hello. All right. Similar to Java or any other language that you'll probably encounter. And there you go. So now we have an array of multiple data types in there. So actually, I can go ahead and do another introduce a new data type. Array at index of, let's say 5. I want it to be a date. So we're going to say new date. And it'll output us what the current date or timestamp is for the day. And if we output the array, there you go. We see it puts it that object inside of at that index. So if we do, let's go ahead and reference that again. So array F5, we get our date. Let's see if we get. Let me see if I can just do something. This is my first time doing this like this, so. All right, cool. So the date is actually an object stored within the array. So let's talk a little bit about the date very quickly. So if I create a new date, and we assign it to D, no, actually let's call it date, right? When we click dot, we can see that these are all the methods that are for the date. And like before, I said to locale string. And just like before, this should output something very similar. So we know that the actual object and not just the string value of that date was stored inside that array, so that we could do further manipulation. All right. So is everybody doing good so far? Catching up, understanding? Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have to understand the language, because as I start typing, you don't want to say, oh, what is that for loop you're doing or whatnot. Just so you guys going to see how things are done in the language. It's very similar to Java. A lot of it doesn't seem to be different except for the var so far, I hope, and the actual object literal. But these are a few things I want to cover. All right, cool. So and the next step is before I mentioned how functions were actual data and functions can be passed to other functions as a property. And now, like, what does that actually look like? So we still have our array object, and the array has a few methods. All right. So remember how we did the for loop? There's a method that you can actually run on the array that will kind of do a for loop for you, and it's called for each. And if we click for each, you see it'll actually say output the for each, but saying that it's a native code. So it's like the JavaScript standard library. So we don't have to add anything to actually get for each for an array. So we just get it right out the box. So how does for each work? For each takes in a function as a property, just one function for now. You don't have to worry about the other properties. So what we need to do is that now we just say, okay, what it's going to do is to say, here's how for each works. It says for each element in this array, you want to perform an action. So, yeah, okay. You want to perform an action. So what we're going to do is that we're going to pass in a function which is going to have the list of actions that we want our array to pretty much our for each to execute on each item, right? So first, let's create a function by using the function keyword. And the for each is going to pass in one element to that function. So let's give it a name, so L, because our function has to have a parameter. We're going to now actually add, say what the instructions are. Now, I'm going to say for each element in the array, we're going to console.log what it is. And we're going to say plus, we're going to add a message at the end of each, right? So I told you so. And enter. And we see that it actually went ahead and for each element within the array, it outputs it, but it also does some additional operation. And this is the function right here. I'm going to pause it right here real quick. Oh, sorry. Let me do this. And I will have to go on standby just for a quick second. Thank you. All right, cool. Let's resume. All right, cool. Sorry about that. Had a little product issues that I had to run through. But let's resume. No further ado. All right, cool. So is everybody good so far? Good, good. All right, cool. So that's the language, well, some of the basic constructs of the JavaScript language in itself. We saw an example of how to pass a function to another function and pretty much get it to operate on it. Cool. So let's talk about the DOM API a little bit. All right, cool. So we have all these HTML, right? We can actually reference the HTML that's on our page using JavaScript. So we can say document, and it outputs us an object. So if we actually open it, we see that it actually tells it, oh snap, here's all the HTML of the document that you want to reference it, right? So let's see something. Document.body, and that will return us the actual body of our web page. Now let's do something a little bit different. So let's say we want to get this, let's actually open something smaller. There's a container element here. Let's say we actually want to get that element or query it. So rather than doing document.body, this, that, and .child all the way in, we can actually query it. So we can say document.query selector. Oops, sorry. And then we're going to pass it what to query. Now, we can pass it three things. We can pass it an ID, we can pass it a class, or we can actually pass it an element. So document.query selector body, and that will return us the body in the HTML. But we want to do something different. We want to get the class of container. So how would we write the container class based on CSS? So like by class, using the CSS notation. Can anybody tell me? How you write a class in CSS? Does anybody remember? You put a dot at the beginning. Correct. Good. So you say dot container, and I misspelled it. And we actually get our div deep within. This is for you. Deep within our HTML with that element container. Side footer, clear fix, correct. So actually let's try doing that again. With this time we're gonna get the side footer. Let's scroll down a bit. This side, I think, hyphen footer. No, so I must have typed it wrong. Let's see where it is. Okay, I have an idea. Let me go to our website. Real quick. There you go. There you go, cool. So now I can open this. Actually make it easier. Does anyone want to switch, take a moment to go to their website? They can do that, yes? So you go to your project on GitHub, you go to settings, and you scroll down until GitHub pages, and you see a link or URL. If you don't have your site up and running from GitHub, from the thing, you can use your local file. So let me do this. So goes new work, demo, which was the location that we built our project from the last workshop for my project. If I do ls, all right, cool. Now if I type in open index.html, or if you go to a file explorer and actually click on that file, it'll open up. So let's do that. So I open my website, and I do a right click, inspect, or you do if you're on a Mac, Command Option J. If you're on a PC, F12 will open up the console. And I go to the JavaScript console, and now I can actually start querying some elements, right? So if I click on this little button right here that has a square with the mouse on it, I can actually hover each individual element that I have here. So I'm gonna click on here, Twitter, and we see that we have FA Twitter square. So okay, so my goal is I'm gonna try to see if I can use JavaScript to delete that Twitter icon. Yes. Oh, sure. Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah. So FA Twitter Square is the class that I want to use. So let's try to see if we can actually remove that. All right, so we're gonna use document dot query selector. I'm gonna say dot FA Twitter square. All right, gonna press enter, and boom. So by using the query selector, we're making sure that we can actually return or get that icon or element. All right. So now the next step is to remove it. So let's see what is there a remove method? Let's try it out. And boom, yeah, there is. So remember there was 4. Let me refresh my page. It'll show back up. But if I press up, and this is my my function. If I click remove, it will remove the Twitter icon. So if I do the query again, I can't find it on my HTML. So it's no longer in the browser, so it won't show up. So now we can actually see how we can use JavaScript to actually start doing some certain interactions on our web page. Now let's go ahead and does everybody have their previous project up on their editor? If not, go ahead. Yours disappeared. All right. Yes. All right. Cool. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to c9.io. I'm already logged in, but if you created a GitHub account, you can log in using your GitHub account. Now, what is c9.io? It is pretty much a development. Well, there it is right there. Development environment in the cloud. So pretty much what it is a VPS or a virtual private server that has a text editor on it. So all the stuff that you can do on your machine, you can actually do it just from the browser on a server and actually have those things live through a different method. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign in by clicking on the GitHub icon, which was the little cat on the top right corner, and then boom. All right, cool. So we're gonna click create new workspace. So that's gonna create like a new machine for us. So I'm gonna call mine demo. UPE.js demo. And just as a template, leave it as the HTML, that's HTML5. So we're gonna go ahead and create workspace. And it's gonna set that up for us. Can you say, do you have to use the cloud line? No, you don't. But preferably you could. It would be a good idea to do it. But if you understand the things enough that you can follow on from your browser, from your computer, feel free to do so. This is just for so at least everybody can be on the same page using the same environment.
Question.
Yeah.
The HTML code.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same in any text editor, correct?
Correct. Now it might be highlighted or the colors might be different, but it is always the same.
What is the base HTML?
Exactly.
It's just a text editor that's
Correct. The text editor just highlights it so it's easier for you to understand or read. Hmm?
So it doesn't matter what text editor you use.
It does not matter. All right, cool. So you see there's a hello world HTML inside of here. And you see it gives us a little a Kickstarter JavaScript to use. So if we actually go ahead and click, I believe, the run button on top here. There you go. It's gonna serve up Apache. So if I actually click on this URL, go ahead and copy that. And if I go to this URL right here, boom, my site is up. Well, the demo site that they gave us is up. So I'm gonna do click me, and it says hello world. Cool. So has everybody got? Does everybody have their environment started and up? Okay. Oh, so probably. So what it is that they charge for private ones, and they could have them running infinitely. So you're good if you use your credit card. It won't charge you immediately until you actually say, "Huh?" Me? I think I did. No, actually, no. I use my Cloud9. My GitHub has my card information from my private accounts, but I don't think it shares it. All right, cool. So you could just use Sublime, but yeah. But at least I want to get everybody on the same page. Just gonna go a little slower. Is everybody good? Ready to go? Everybody's on Cloud9? All right, cool. Or if you're comfortable enough, you can try to follow along. If not, if you're on Cloud9, just follow what I'm doing. It's practically the same thing. All right, cool. So I'm gonna create a new element inside of my body. Now I'm gonna indent. Oh, sorry. Now I'm gonna indent some of these, just so it's easier for me to read. That's my body. Sure. All right. So I'm gonna create an input. Now press tab. So it's gonna say a type text, and you can ignore this name. All right. Or actually, yeah. I'm given ID of my let's say title, and I'm gonna create a new element called a text area. All right, and I'm gonna give that an ID of description. Everyone good so far? Cool. So I have two elements that I've introduced. Oh yeah, which is the first is the text input text, and another one is the text area. And we're gonna see how those renders really quickly. So in the demo, you see how there's this little script tag right here. Just like before, how we have like this, we had the style tags that we can actually embed our styles inside of our HTML code. The script tags allows us to do the same thing for JavaScript. So by using a script tag, we can just write JavaScript in between, and our page will pick that up the browser will pick that up when it renders and actually execute this JavaScript. All right, so let's go ahead and delete everything that's inside of here. All right, and then we're gonna do this. So we're gonna do document dot query selector. Cool thing, this gives us some intelligence. So some query selector, and we're gonna put the ID of title. Now this is the CSS syntax of ID, which is with a hashtag now, and then we're gonna use title. So I repeat this again. So class, you start off with a period, but in IDs you start off with a hashtag, and that's how it'll be able to identify those elements. IDs only should be used for unique elements. Class could be used for multiple types of elements. So I can say multiple divs, and each of those divs have the same class, but only one element should have one unique ID. It makes sense. You know, a student should have multiple IDs. All right, cool. So query selector title, and we're gonna say get the value of it. Yeah. So we're gonna say, so now that we have the value here, let's assign it to a variable. So variable, let's say my title, TLE, and let's go ahead and I'll put it to the console. So console.log my title. All right, cool. Oh, sorry, cool. So now we've saved our changes using Control S or Command S. I believe we can refresh here and actually open the inspect element, the inspector. So F12 if you're on PC, or Command Option J if you're on a Mac. And we see here that there's this new line, hello world J is 65. If you click on it, I'll actually show you what line executed this. And we see that we actually kind of are outputting a value. However, there's nothing in it. So we need to actually go ahead and type in our input field. So you see there's two new elements up here. So those are the input fields that we just created. However, when we type, nothing's happening. We don't see anything in the console. So what do we want to do now? So if you've done any GUI programming, oh sorry, I need to get used to not to do it in my browser. I mean, not to do my text editor. We need to add an event listener. So we say, hey, whenever something happens to this element, I want you to execute this function. All right. So we're gonna do this now. So rather than saving my title and try to and outputting it ourselves, we're gonna say output it whenever it triggers it detects the event, right? So I'm gonna say add event listener. And then remove the first, and then we'll say what type of event does it take as a string. So for key presses, or whenever you're typing on a keyboard, the event type that triggers that it responds to is key down. So key down. So now is when we want to pass it our function, our anonymous function that will say, okay, here's how to behave each time you get a key down event. So we're going to create our function, and our function takes in our E for it, or event as a parameter. And here's where you type the function body. So we're going to say console.log I am being typed. And you can save that. All right, so now if we go back here, we refresh. Now if you type, you see that it's actually triggering and actually executing the function that we wanted it to do. So let's go ahead and actually modify that so that we can actually get the value of the input now. All right. So when we execute, when an event gets triggered, it adds some data type onto a target, and the target is the event, or is the element that event is being acted upon. So let's go ahead and get the value of that element. So we already know that by using dot value, we can get a value of our input, right? So let's get our element first. So event dot target will return us our input element, and then we say dot value. Oh, sorry, value should return us the value of that input. So we save that. Go here, back to our editor, browser, reload, and say my title is not defined. Good. Why is that now? Can anybody tell me? Any idea? Nope, nothing. All right, cool. It's line 71. cool thing about Senior.io is that there's some intelligence right here. It says my title is not defined because I have declared a variable using the var keyword for my title because I deleted it before. So we no longer need this line since we have a function that's telling it each time it happens, execute the console log. So let's save that and refresh. And now each time it's being typed, you can see that our text is growing with the value that's inside the input field. And as we delete, so on and so forth. Cool. So let's try to do it differently where we add a title and we create a description, and whenever someone there's a click that's being made, then is when it would get the values of both those input, right? So let's go ahead and back up. Sorry, bad habits. Let's go back to these input fields, and let's do this. No. So we have you see that there's a button right here, and it's called click button. Let's change the ID of that button to submit, or if you're using your custom project, create a button element. All right. And now I want to create an event listener and add that onto the button, right? So same as before, document.query selector. Query selector. You want to say submit, which was the ID. So you add a hashtag before submit. You want to say add event listener. So for a click or the equivalent of event for the click for a button would be press down. Fun thing is that we can actually Google these things. All right, so we just do HTML button click event on click event. No. So we don't want to use the attribute on click because that is very old JavaScript. Actually, yeah, click event and JavaScript. There you go. So you see there's also this jQuery thing that's popping up. We're going to get into that a little bit towards the end. Oh. Let's go with the gamble. So we're going to say on click, and we're going to pass our function. Just same as before. That function takes an event, and here's where we're going to get the values of both the text, which is the ID title, and the description. So let's use our query selector. So var title, which will hold our title element or title input. So document dot query selector title. We're going to do the same for description. Description. Oh. And we're actually going to get these values, and then we're going to output it to the console. So title, which is the element, we're going to get the value of that value. And we're going to concatenate it. What a message. We're going to copy this. And we do the same for description. And we're going to save this. Yeah, it gets very, very slow at the beginning. All right, cool. So we're gonna go back to our browser, and if we reload now, we type in our input. Since the event listener is still on that input to output whatever is in there, it'll output to the console. So let's create a console and let's add something for description. Blah blah blah. And if we click this, there it is. So this is my title, and blah 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 is my description. Cool. So slowly you can see how we can start adding some actual functionality onto our web pages. So the current DOM structure is kind of a mess. The DOM API, which is the native JavaScript platform to allow you to use JavaScript to manipulate your website, is pretty messy. So there's this tool out there that's called jQuery, which is a library that you guys can import into your websites, and pretty much has a shorter function that makes it easier to actually manipulate your websites. So let's go into a little bit into jQuery. So like before, we had used. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know when.
So at 2:30 we're gonna take a break. We have some soda and snacks outside, so you can just line up outside and we'll give it to you. And then at 2:45, I guess we'll come back in. All right.
Cool. So we're going to cdnjs.com. Remember before that, because that's where we got our font awesome. And now we're going to search for jQuery, because we don't okay, cool. So now we can copy the link to jQuery, because we don't have to worry about downloading it, right? And we can actually import it the same way that we imported font awesome in our previous workshop here. So how do we do so? We use the script tag. And you see here how before we say script and we actually literally write the JavaScript in the middle. Well, this time we're saying using the script tag, and we're defining that the file that is going to be fetching is a type text/JavaScript. So it knows it's a JavaScript file. And then we're telling it the source or where that file is located. In this case, it's here at this URL endpoint. Cool. So we can go ahead and actually remove this first event listener since we don't need it anymore. So now we only have one event listener on the button. Now, how will we do this within jQuery? Now, jQuery has a pretty unique syntax where you use the $. It's a $sign function. Pretty much you execute that function to query an element. So it's the equivalent of doing dom.querySelector and then this. So if I do $submit, oh, sorry. It's a string, it takes a string, #submit. This is the equivalent of this piece down here. So it'll definitely it's more succinct and it definitely helps us to code more practically. All right. So we have an add event listener. This is a native function, but jQuery comes with a helper function for it, which is .on. So what we're saying is that, okay, on this element, whenever this event, okay, so let me read this. So the submit element on click event, then we pass it a function. So submit on click, perform this function. There we go, get the body of it. We'll do X. We reshaped our function, and we're gonna go ahead and refresh and see if it still works. Make sure we haven't broken our code. Cool. So, type some message here, and some more message here. Now on click, it still outputs it. Awesome. Because what what we've done is that we just used jQuery to write a bit more code that is more readable and shorter to write also. But we're still using the native APIs right here in within the function. So let's go ahead and refactor that. So remember how document.querySelector is the same thing as using just $. Boom. Start there. Boom. And since this turns into jQuery, the dot value will no longer work because that's for a native thing. So jQuery has a function called dot val to actually get the value of that element. Now that we've done that, and the value of title and description will be in the respective variables, we can remove the dot value from here. Awesome. So now our code is much smaller and much easier to read and interpret. So let's save that. Go back to our web page. Refresh. And oh, let's wait for this to go down. Go to the top element. There's an input here. I'm typing some stuff. Element. I'm typing some more stuff. Can you guys see that? All right, I guess you can. Oh snap! What did I just do? All right, cool. So now I can go to my button, click on it, and it still works. So now we've proven that, okay, make sure that our code hasn't broken due to our use of jQuery and introducing that to our project. Cool. So let's go ahead, and this is where things get fun, all right? So this thing can get really tedious and there's slow growth in it if you do it the traditional fashion, but I like to kind of speed it up by using what's out there in the community, so the open source. So a lot of people create jQuery plugins. So we sort of can use jQuery at this point, sort of, right? So we can leverage plugins for jQuery that other people have built to actually add more interactivity and other functionality to our site. So I have my little secret place that I go to. It's called unheap.com, which is pretty much a collection of pretty cool libraries. So I guess like what we'll do is like we'll probably freeform this, and I want you guys to give me some input on what do we want to build. So this is unheap.com. So first thing we want to set up is the UI, all right? So let's go ahead and go to the UI section, and let's figure out what plugins do they have available for our user interface. So, so zoo.move, there's dynamically zoom images when you hover over it. That sounds pretty cool. Maybe like a little gallery app. Anybody? Yes. You guys can start telling me and I will build it with you guys. So don't be shy. Yeah? All right, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new tab for that. This is like kind of like my process when I want to find some cool stuff that I want to build. Trying to see what's out there. Let me collapse this. This is being slow. All right, cool. So I'll go to zoo.move and let's see what it has. Yeah, I have to go to the URL on it. All right. Press the wrong button. Bear with me for a quick second, guys. In the meantime, let me delete some stuff. Speed up my machine. All right, cool. So zoo.move, if you hover over it, there's going to be a launch or something as soon as this site finishes loading up. All right, cool. So I'll go on launch. Click on that. It opens up a new tab for us and redirects the site. And it takes us to another GitHub project. Well, we'll be taking us to another GitHub project as soon as it's done. La, 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 la. Sorry, my internet's being slow. All right, cool. Boom. This doesn't look too unfamiliar. So let's go ahead and see what it is. So the cool thing about it is that almost every GitHub web page has a README where a person pretty much documents and gives you a quick rundown on what their plugin does and what it does and how to set it up. So we see we already have the setup instructions on how to add it to our website. We have to have jQuery installed. You have to use the Zoo CSS that they have, or ZooMove, and their JS. And pretty much the way to use it is that we use an item image in this manner. And we execute a zoo.move function, and that will apparently magically work. So let's actually put this to the test. Let's go to CDN.js to see if maybe CDN.js has it, so that way we don't have to download that file. If you don't have to download that file, it's always better for me. So let's go ahead and type in zoo. Move. Nope. Nope. Well, I guess it's not here. So here's another way we could do this. All right. So the actual source code for this project is inside of here. Usually there's a dist folder. So what we could do is that we can open a dist folder. And that will have the files that you need to actually import within your project. So which is the CSS and then the min.js. So let's go ahead, click on the CSS, and we see that it's a CSS file. We can click on raw now to actually get the raw format of that file and actually just copy it. And now we can actually bring it to our web page. Let's go to the c9.io. Cool. And remember the way that we imported sites into our CSS into our website is by using the link tag. And the cool thing is that IntelliSense sometimes will autocomplete it, and all you have to do is put the URL within the href. So we're gonna save that, and let's go fetch the CSS now. The JavaScript, since we just got the CSS. And by memory, I can tell that is the JS. There you go, that works. Cool, so we're gonna copy that, roger that. A quick second. And let's bring it down to a script using the script.src. So do script. I'm going to have to snippet and paste that in. All right, cool. So now we have the zoo.move JavaScript dependence plugin, and we have the CSS plugin for zoo.move installed on our web page, pretty much. So we can take a break now. There's some stack outside, like Caesar said before, and when you guys come back, we'll resume and go ahead to actually implementing the zoo.move plugin using jQuery. All right, guys, thank you. See you in a bit. Oh, wow. Okay.
Did I scare you?
No. Yeah, give me a quick second, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
No, you're good. You're still there. Blocker. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I was in the bathroom, so I don't know how we got the boxes.
Oh, no, it's fine. So if you go into your body,
Okay.
what I did is I created two input elements,
Okay.
two input tags, and one of them has an ID. So if you look at here, sorry, where is it? Yeah, right here. This is what it looks like.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh man, whew. You scared me.
Don't forget to pause the broadcast. So, what did you do? Oh, wait. Every time we made a new one. No, we don't want to. Which pages? Go down. You can't use master. Which yeah, but this says like this. That's the old one. Yeah. You're gonna change that one. This was about to go. my page that's on my device,
Mm-hmm.
and that was not it.
You're trying to set up the site?
And this is that's online.
Okay. Yeah, so what you need to do is, you remember the Git process? You have to commit your changes to Git. You have to add them, you have to commit them, then you have to push it to the remote server. You did that?
I did the push.
So
I
Git
did the
status?
commit.
So Git status? So, sorry. Git diff. So if you change, these are the changes from today, right?
No, I did it yesterday. I was trying to push them up, and
Alright, cool.
then they really go up.
Okay, these aren't anything crazy. Alright, cool. So here's the next stage. Go to your GitHub, where's the shit. Which one's the GitHub? Your my web page. That one? Okay. Let's go back. And then go back. Alright, cool. So what you see here is that you see how there are multiple branches?
Yeah.
The things that you pushed yesterday are inside of master. So what you need to do is that in order to get those into the GitHub Pages
Yeah.
branch, you have to do what's called a pull request to merge those changes, right? So it's similar to like how you commit, but rather than you going from your file into a server,
Yeah.
it's from one branch to another branch. It's the
Okay.
same thing. It's just called differently. So what we need to see is a new pull request button right here.
Yeah.
So you see from base master. Oh, sorry.
So
Master to GitHub Pages. Oh, sorry. Compare master with GitHub Pages. There you go. So yeah, it says is able to change with, you see, here's the commit you take.
Okay.
So now if you able to merge to V2 and create pull requests, it'll go ahead and create that pull request, but that's the first step. So that way that can be reviewed. So that if you have a friend that's working with you on the project, they have to do that, and then you guys can review it. Once everything's good to go, you do the confirm merge, which is what the merging is, and then it's merged. So now if you go to the website, now that it's been merged, is that correct?
No.
There you go.
Now is
It
it?
updates.
Okay.
So
That's the step I was missing last class. That's why I was like, I was trying to go online, Google it, and find it, but I wasn't not that genius
yeah,
in finding it. So
yeah.
okay. Thank you.
No problem, dude. Yeah.
I don't know why it's showing me this. It's like
Hey guys, we still have some snacks left over, so if you want another one.
Oh, because see,
wait, this is the,
did you put in the jQuery? Okay, so
yeah, actually I was right. It's not finding it. I'm pretty sure what's
oh, you see how you do type? Make sure it's in source. Make sure it's like sticking together. Don't space them out.
okay, like
Yeah.
remove this space.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Try that. That should be good. No problem.
Alright guys, so just a couple of announcements. So you probably know the membership application is already online, so just go to the upfau.io website, fill it out. You have to turn in a transcript to the advising office. So just print one out from your MyFIU account. And if you are eligible for induction, you can also turn in the membership fee, alright? And it's gonna be done before November 11th, I believe, that's the deadline. So anytime before then, as long as you turn in those 2 days, if you have to turn in the fee, if you are eligible, if you're not, then you don't have to worry about the fee for now. You can just turn those into the advising office and then we'll process them, alright? Second thing, the database management workshop will be next Friday, same time as today, 1 p.m. and BDC 6105. How many of you guys have already taken databases or taking databases now? Right, so For you guys, or even if you haven't taken databases, so this is a good way to review. We're pretty much going to use the class curriculum that they use for the databases class in CS here. If you're in IT, that'll cover pretty much everything. So we'll be going over that, and you'll be able to learn database design and SQL, which you're probably going to get to, you haven't gotten to yet this semester. So this probably second half of the semester that you'll be seeing. So you'll be ahead of the game once you go through the workshop and learn these things, all right? The last thing is we have a YouTube channel, which is where the recording of the videos will go to. So if you want to re-watch this, you can feel free to go to the YouTube channel. The name is just Upsilon by Epsilon. Just look for it. You can find the full video. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I also have the JavaScript buttons, so we're going to give those out at the end once you leave. So make sure you get those. Also, make sure you always sign in. Did everyone here sign in at the beginning with the laptop and the iPad? All right, so always make sure you sign in, so that way we can count the amount of points that you get. So today you get 3 more points, and that way we can keep track of the attendance and all that. All right.
All right, cool. You have a question?
It's just Upsilon by Epsilon. Just look for it, search it, and it should show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the live stream should be up right now. So.
All right, cool. How many guys are CS or IT students? Or how many are non-CS IT students? A major? All right, computer engineering. Who is a non-STEM major? Nobody's. Okay, so everybody's here is technical in some degree and capacity. All right, cool. All right, cool. So, remember how for the Zoo move, there was like a documentation README? So in my project or the workshop that we built from the last work, my site that we built from last workshop is actually up on GitHub. So what I did is I created a README with further research that you guys can use to pretty much get deeper within these topics. Because you can't learn this thing in 1 or 2 days, or maybe you could probably do HTML and CSS within a week and start actually doing good stuff with it. But it takes a lot of practice. So I don't think we'll have enough workshops to actually get you to the level of proficiency. But there's an additional resource that you guys can go that will easily walk you through in the best possible manner. These are resources that I've used myself personally, and I think these are great. So within a short amount of time, you guys can actually have some pretty good mastery of these topics. Definitely doing the Learn Git is really interactive on the webpage. And after that, doing Codecademy. Codecademy has it'll start you off in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and it'll take you further on into a multitude of backend programming language, such as Ruby, for Ruby on Rails. It'll teach you Python and some Django, and even Node.js, which is a backend implementation that you can use using just JavaScript. So you can write your backend using JavaScript, or what you've learned today. And this is the try Git. So it's pretty much just a few bullet points that you can get to. Probably 15 minutes sitting down, you'll understand Git thoroughly and be ready for the next workshop that ACM is going to do. So when they start saying stuff, you actually look, you know your stuff. So yeah, pretty good. So let's resume. Zoo.move pretty much works with images. So let's start looking for images that we want to use in our site. Let me try to think from the top of my head. What do I want to zoom into? Okay, I know. No. Oh, okay, cool. Rick and Morty. Bro, where's okay? Pretty dope cartoons. So I'm about to create my Rick and Morty gallery that people can go on, hover their mouse over it, and actually be zooming into small details based on what Zoo Move is supposed to do. I didn't know, but let's go for it. So I'm gonna go find an image. This has tons of little tiny details that you can benefit from zooming into. So I'm gonna right click, copy image address. Oh, nope, stay on the same site. And actually let me double check that we are still streaming. Block up. All right, so apologize about that. All right, so we're resuming for you guys on the stream from our quick hiatus. So what we're doing now is getting an image to actually attach to our site so that we can actually zoom to. So in here, I want to go ahead and create an image tag. And with the new source that I found, put it inside the SRC. And there you go. So if we save and refresh, when we go to our URL, refresh that, we should see an image pop up. There you go. Awesome. Good. Cool. So now let's start actually going about the implementation for Zoom Move. So if we go back to the GitHub URL for that project, it begins to tell us how to implement it. So we use a figure, which is the image item of HTML5. Oh, sorry, bad habits again. So I'm gonna go back to our editor, or in our case, c9.io, and before we're using the image, and ZoomMove says, no, do not use an image. So we're gonna go ahead and actually put in the figure that they told us to put, which we copy pasted. All right. So we're gonna take our URL from the image. We're gonna copy it and actually put it inside of here. Paste it, and there you go. We should be good. So now that means we can remove the image tag. I don't know why it was doubled. We can save it and go back to the web page and refresh it and see what this happens. We don't need this console anymore, so we can X out of it. Well, nothing shows up. That's not good. Oh shit, that's nice. Cool. We'll go to that later. All right, so. Oh, nope, sorry. All right, cool. So, apparently it needs to get... So there was a JavaScript error where it says ZoomMove cannot be found on my browser for min.js. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ZoomMove, and I'm just going to create the file and just copy the file locally. Right? So, get that URL, come here, paste it, and it will show me the raw JS file for it, the source code of the JS file. I can go ahead and Control All and copy all of that and go back to my editor and actually create a new file. So let's go ahead and see how to create a new file in here. So I think this plus right here, yeah, new file. And I'm gonna paste the code that we copied inside of here. I'm gonna press S, Control S, and I'm gonna save it as ZoomMove.js. Which is in demo, correct. Save. So now it shows up right here. Now, we created a file locally, but that's not inside of our HTML. So how do we actually put it inside of our HTML? Well, it's the same thing that we had before. We use a source, but it's not pointing to a separate web or URL or website URL. So how do we get something that's local and have our HTML file reference it? Now, we could just give it a relative path. So the HTML file knows that it's in this folder, and within the same folder, there is the file called ZoomMove. Now what I can do is say // and then say ZoomMove.js, sorry, and save that. Oh, wait. And if I refresh, I should no longer have an error. And if you open my console, we can confirm that. No errors. So we're good. So now our image is still not showing up. So we're missing one critical piece of the plugin. So let's go back to the documentation. And we see that we actually have to start ZoomMove. So let's go ahead and grab that. Copy paste it. Oh, sorry, bad habits. And actually execute it. So, all right, boom. I saved that. And go to our web page, sorry. Refresh, fingers crossed. I've never used this plugin before. It did not work, something happened. So it says resource interpreted as style sheet but transferred with MIME type CSS. So there's an issue. What happens? What this message says is that, hey, this is a URL to a CSS file, but I'm interpreting it as plain text. So when the browser renders it, it's not reading this is CSS. It's just plain text to it. So let's do what we did with the JavaScript file and create a CSS file and actually reference it locally. So right here, .css. We're gonna copy the URL, Control C. Copy the content, and go back to our browser, and we're gonna create a new file. Zoom move. Oh, actually, we're just gonna say we're gonna paste the content. All right, this is CSS, correct? Save it. Zoom move .css. We're gonna save it, and it's also within the same directory as the index.html file. So we're gonna go up to the top, and wherever we reference it before using the URL, we're gonna change that to match the current path. So /zoom move.js. Save that, and let us see. Fingers crossed how that works. Am I executing? Oh, okay. One more thing. Oh, sorry. We're in, okay, cool. All right, cool. That's CSS. Cool. Now, there's one more thing also, is that we also don't want our zoom move to execute before the browser renders everything. So we want the browser to render and be ready for us to actually say, okay, start doing things on the web page. So we can actually create a new event listener on the document object, which is the whole entire web page itself. So document, and then we can say on ready. So whenever you're ready, let me know, and then I will do everything that I need to do for my application here. So we're gonna create a function, and now we're gonna write our application code inside of this document.ready, so that we make sure that if anything needs to be called during when it's ready and not before it, it only happens on when it's ready. Just gonna paste that code in, do some formatting just for maintenance and housekeeping. All right, good. We're gonna save that, and let's go back and refresh. These are common things that you're going to encounter while building web applications, so hopefully my process will walking through it will give you some familiarity as how to approach it. So let's see, elements. So nothing's happening. So is this extension a bust or not? So this side is supposed to happen. Oh, it's not. What happened to my... Can you guys see my screen? All right, cool. We're still good. So I'm gonna go back to here, inspect my code. Seems to be good. Let's try doing it with an image. Tag. See. Let's get to it. So now we hover over it. Nothing is still happening. So this is the fun part of web development, because you now have to debug and try to figure out exactly why things aren't working. The JavaScript says it's fine. The CSS seems to load. So what could it be? So let's actually investigate that a little further. The documentation is your friend. let's go ahead and see a demo. Make sure to see how that works and see if we want to use that. Yeah, we did that, did that. All right, cool. All right, cool. So I want it to work like that. So let's actually copy this scale and put it in. But it should be for a figure class. So let's go back. See something. Okay, so now we are going to try simulating what they have. Wait, Rick.jpg. So now if we refresh, quite frankly, I cannot tell you why this does not want to work. So that's the best. Let's go on to the next one, Megan. Let's actually make this one cool. I know exactly what I want to use. Let's set up an alert dialogues. So CDN.js. Let's look for Sweet Alert, which is a pretty awesome alert library. So it has 2 points, which is the styles and the JS. So let's actually highlight that. Or click on that, for lack of a better term. We're gonna copy the CDN for it. Bad habits one more time. So replace that, the link. And now we're gonna replace the JavaScript one more time. So now we're gonna be building something different. So CSS, we wanna make that JS. Now let's see exactly what is this Sweet Alert that we're talking about. So Sweet Alert is a pretty modal dialog or alert library that replaces the default alert box. And here we can actually get a glimpse of what it looks like and how to actually use it. So pretty straightforward. The alert function, it looks like this. So whenever the document's ready, it's going to pop up a message saying I'm ready. Correct. So let's go ahead in here. Let's refresh. Let's see what the results of that comes out to. idea why. Oh my gosh. Bad habits. Let's see something. Oh, wrong page. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh man, I lost my URL. All right, cool. So now I'll put the I'm ready message. Maybe this was working all along. Let's do this. No, yes, no. Oh, there it is. Dude, that's my fault. Brain fart, people. All right, cool. So what happened? I was using the on ready before. When in fact, what happened is that there is no on ready event. So I had to actually use the ready method. I haven't used jQuery in a little while. I try to avoid it, but which is probably why. So that was a small distinction, which was the reason why our code was not working before. So now when we move, so it does this. So now we can actually zoom in and whatnot and so forth. So let's go ahead and go back to the drawing board and tweak this a little bit more. So since we want to make a gallery of images, let's make these smaller so we could do multiple. So we're gonna create a class. I'm gonna call it 30.30 or something like that. Or no, actually I'm gonna call it .25 for a quarter. Or just say quarter. Yeah. And I'm gonna say width of this is equal to 25%. So whatever holds this thing is gonna be 25% the whole width of a page. So I'm gonna create a div. Oh, thank you. Good catch. So I'm gonna say create a div, and I'm gonna give it a class of quarter. And I'll put my figure inside of it, and I'm gonna create four of these. Boom. Let's refresh, see results, wait for it to load. So, one. Looks like a stack of them. Let's go back. Let's see, zoo item. Let's add a quarter to these also. Save the changes, go back to the web page. Let's refresh. And that's a quarter. Looks like a stack in them. So let's go ahead and see what else we could do. Let's get a different image. All right. All right, let's get this image. Copy image address. Close it. Let's paste it inside of here. And boom. So I'm gonna add a new style to our quarter. And I'm gonna say float left. And I'm gonna tell it to display block. Let's see how that works out. Refresh. Nope, the figure still keeps it as one. So let's understand why. So let's go ahead and add some additional functionality. All right. So we started talking about swall and what swall is. So let's say each time a person hovers over the zoo item, we want to ask them maybe if they want to buy a poster of it and try to get maybe their customer information from there. No. So whenever a person hovers, this is what we want to do. Not click. We're gonna pass it a function of instructions to do. So let's go ahead and go what we were doing before. Let's get our swall dependencies. Let's put that back. If you didn't remove them, good. I'm gonna have to put them back. So script for the JS. And link for CSS. All right, cool. Now, what was swall before? We saw what alert was. It's just a dialog that pops up, right? So what swall does is that it pretty much prettifies that dialog. Welcome to my terrible gallery. Since we're definitely not focusing on design, but we're focusing more on functionality, really, and how to get things to work. So as soon as we refresh the page, you see how we got the error. Could not found sweet alert. So I put the wrong URL for sweet alert. And you see, and I'm missing a min. Cool. If you see things don't work, look at your console. Maybe there's a JavaScript error that's causing that. So I just refresh, which is what mine does. And you see there's a pop-up that says, welcome to my gallery. All right, cool. So something hovers over here, nothing happens. So let's go ahead and add the dialogue to actually start asking people if they want to buy the poster, theoretically. On function, so you want to say swall. Whenever a person hovers, let's ask them a question. Do you want to buy this poster? Boom. We're gonna go ahead and go here. Let's refresh. So welcome to my gallery, thank you. Now if I hover it seems to overwrite my behavior, which is bad. So what we're seeing is that maybe the use of this figure with the woo.move isn't working out. So let's go ahead and remove this zooming behavior and just use good old images. Oh. let's go add and do this. So do this. So I'm gonna use image. And I'll do that. And the same thing here. Oh. Copy this image and paste it everywhere else. All right, cool. So now what we want to do is that we're going to change our previous listener for hovers to be on the right event. So we're going to say whenever there's a quarter with a child of image, so whenever there's an image inside of a quarter, we want to trigger this event for those elements whenever a person hovers over it. So go ahead and go back to our URL, just refresh, see our results, boom. All right, cool. So now we have thing. However, nothing happens. So let's see why is that. If you open the JavaScript console, a good way to debug is to actually create or write functions, console logs and statements to make sure that it's working. Console.log. I am hovered. Since we saw that the image will also we're sticking together, let's do something there. Let's go to the quarter and let's give it a margin of 15 pixels. So that way they can space out a little bit. And let's say for all the images inside a quarter, so the way we could do that, you can say quarter, and then the child of quarter, pretty much we're saying images inside a quarter, we don't want to apply these styles to it. So we want to tell that they have a height of 200 pixels. We're going to save that. Refresh. All right, cool. There we go. That's not working. Let's try click. Because we know that click does work. So let's refresh. Yeah, thank you. All right, cool. But it's not saying okay. I don't want that to happen when it say okay. It's still not spacing out. So now let's just tweak it up a bit. Let's see what other functionalities that Sweet Alert provides. It allows us to put a subtitle, which is cool. Another type of message, which is cool. But what we want to do is we want to ask the person a question. Yes. Do we? All right, cool. Yes. Maybe. All right, cool. Let's use this function right here. Or actually, yeah, let's use this one. So what we could do is we could actually copy the code, snippet the example that they give us. And come here and actually start to implement it. Whoa, oh, great. So this sets it up at one line. So let's format this. All right, cool. All right, cool. So we see that SWA takes in first is an object with a list of string properties. So first is the title. So I don't want the title to say, "Are you sure?" So let's switch that up to be like into a theoretical store. So would you like to purchase this out? Like to purchase this item. And before we continue, we saw how the height was set to 200, but like the width was really. Right, so let's set it also to 200 pixels, so that way it squares up. Oh wait, HI. No wonder. I misspelled height. There you go. Cool. Cool. All right. So let's go on the sub message on this. Let's say it'll cost you $15. Cool. I want to type to be info. And one confirmation button to say yes, I want to buy it. We see here that we can actually pass in a color for our confirm button. So let's go ahead and just give it an arbitrary color. Shoots. I don't remember things by heart, but we use, remember, flat UI colors. Really, really neat tool. So I want my color button to be blue, my purchase button to be blue. So you go ahead and implement that. And close on confirm, cool. It says no. So the way the second dialog was passed is saying, okay, the first dialog is triggered by this object right here. This is the settings, pretty much. These are the settings for the first dialog. But like here it says close on confirm is false. So if close on confirm is false and we also pass in a function as a second parameter, it'll execute what that function is. And inside that second function is we re-trigger this wall again to show a dialog, or we can redo another swall, the same thing we just did, to ask another question. So pretty much kind of like survey them down the order process. So now we copy that. We can create another one, pretty much nesting it. And then we can ask them, where would you like us to ship it to? Since your product is pretty top notch, it's $45 shipping. Winky face. All right. So we want to change the message of the button. Just take my money. We're gonna save, and we're gonna say awesome been purchased. Let's see how that works out. Go back here. All right, cool. Now the files are properly set up. So you can click. Would you like to purchase this item? It costs me $15. Yes, I want to buy it. $15 shipping for something that's $15. $40. Yeah. Take my money and boom. So far we kind of have like some type of flow going along. Now let's say, for example, you guys want to actually use set this up like when you guys go home and start selling something, or build a little site that you guys can sell a little thing that you guys make, I don't know, shirts or whatever. You can use PayPal, or there's also something called Stripe, which is third-party payment services. All right. So they handle all that payment handling, credit card, and information for you. So all you need to do is set up your account and use their JavaScript library to implement their PayPal button or Stripe button, and then just like that, you added payment processing on your site. So let's just go ahead and go to their site, stripe.com. Discover Atlas. Cool new things. So you're gonna go to documentation. You're gonna go to development, and let's see, what does Stripe look like? So if I click submit, oh, it's not this. Oh, something else. So yeah, there's stuff right here on your from our website. So when you guys go to it, search around, and you guys can feel this. And you guys will get more information on how to set that up because it walks you through it. So it uses Stripe.js. So I'm gonna open that, and here's a little demo of what it looks like. It'll pretty much create a button that when I click it, I can actually enter my credit card information. But I'm not gonna do that, so I'm gonna use their 424242424242. Oh, never mind. Hold on a second, let me X out. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna say Ash, send it to my email, and do 42 or not more else. 424242 4242 and 4242. All right, cool. Any date, any 3-digit number, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can say pay. Boom! It actually sets it up. Pretty neat. Let me see if it actually sends it to my email, which would be even doper, as a person would say. But this is a, like I said, a test environment. So here it is. So it's very simple. All we need to do is just pretty much embed this checkout into our site, which is this little form right here. So let's go ahead and copy this. Let's add some structure to our site a little bit. Now we're going to place the stuff that says quarter. Yeah. And inside each quarter, the first quarter, we're going to put a button. We're going to put our button. So only the first image will have that card in there. Since alright, so let's say this margin 15, let's say margin 10, and on the image, so between the spacing between the top and bottom, between the card is not gonna stick stuck together. So I'll say margin bottom to be another 10 pixels. So ideally it will be spaced out. And let's just do this. It's not pretty, but at least it's clear. We're gonna say background color to be black. Black on black on black. Alright, so we're gonna go back to where we find the Stripe.js. Alright, cool. So first is to how to set up Stripe onto your website. This is the injection, the plugin script that we inject. So we go ahead and add that to our site. Now let's go back to Stripe and follow the instructions. And then inside our jar, we use this publishable key. So this is for the test environment, of course. All right, cool. And I believe this sets up or warms up the Stripe environment. All right, awesome. We're gonna remove that annoying pop-up at the beginning. And we're just gonna go to our site and refresh. All right, cool. So you see there's the one right here with the little pay my card. So something's happening. Maybe this request is still loading. Page is still loading. Loading. All right, awesome. Yeah, cool. There it is. So now we can actually do a dummy setup. So 4242, 4242, 42, 42, 42. Blah, blah, blah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and pay $9. Let's see what happens right now. All right, cool. And this could be now your receipt page. You see how here it points to your change code, your charge code? If we go here, that is the URL that you provide. That's one configuration. So this is a form. Now, a form is pretty much a form that allows you to collect information and actually submit it. So what we do is that we've used before at the beginning just input elements, which works inside of a form, right? So text in the text area, but we use JavaScript to extract information from there. Now, by just using a form, you might not even need JavaScript. You can have this form submit to a URL to a backend endpoint that where the backend will process the information that is in that form. But in our case, since we wanted to do stuff on the UI using JavaScript and not worry about any backend at the moment, so we could just build our UI, which is the reason why we didn't use the form. And there's certain things. Here are further config values for the Stripe endpoint that pretty much the Stripe documentation will walk you through. But pretty much so far, like that's just been a very, very rough estimate of like, I would say rough estimate, but like a very rudimentary intro to JavaScript and actually starting to use some of the tools out there to actually build something that you guys can actually deliver. So if you guys go to Hackathon, with skills that you guys go, give it a week or so of practice, and you guys can actually conceptualize a project and actually be able to deliver some very, very, very rough prototype and be able to actually validate your idea. So which is the purpose of all what these workshops are for. So let's see, how do I have enough time for anything else? All right, cool. So so we sort of did a gallery, or a very rough gallery, to say the least. What else do we want to add to the gallery? Does anybody know? Open suggestions. Can you say that again? Titles to the images. All right, so that's some CSS and HTML. We could do that real quick. All right, so let's take some of these. All right, we're going to delete these, and we're going to duplicate this. We're going to say main content. And we're going to say H3s, or actually H4s. You're going to say image title. So we're going to create one, and we're pretty much going to copy paste multiple of them. And there's a cool element called HR, which I think stands for horizontal row, which will create a line to pretty much separate the contents. So that's our first quarter, I believe. Let's do this. So let's style it up a little bit, clean it up a bit. We're going to add some padding. Not add to the image, but to the quarter. Padding of 10 pixels. And then, I'll say a margin of, 15 pixels with 25. And one more thing. We're going to change this and turn it into a main. Cool. Now, I'm throwing out a few DOM tags, but there's a place where called W3 Schools that you guys can go and actually get a list of all of the elements available within HTML and so on and so forth. So you see how they explain, they show up forms and explain a little bit further and actually show you examples that you guys can actually continue playing with. And if you scroll even further down, they show you like all the different tags right here in the tag list. Now you can see all of the tags that you can actually use within HTML and play around with. So just in case I throw something, you're like, oh, what is that? you can actually go here and reference it and pretty much learn some more about it. So yeah, so I'm creating my main, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna the class of container. We're gonna remove this, or actually border radius, padding, and I shoot. Alright, cool. So now we're gonna create a new class for container to kind of like somewhat center everything together. We're gonna give it a padding of 25 pixels. That may be too much, who knows. And then we're gonna tell it to display as display box. Oh, block. Yeah, not box. Display block and margin top. So it's not all the way to the top of 35 pixels. So let's play with that a bit. Whoa, what happened here? In where? Okay, so that's right. In the where? Oh, cool, good catch. Let's see if that was it. Oh. Nope, didn't seem to do anything. So here's a cool trick. Remember how we can actually inspect our elements? There's some further where you can actually debug the HTML and see, make sure it's working. So see, we have our main here.
You can debug it when it's not in your text editor.
Correct.
Will that fix it on the text editor?
No. Well, it could. There's a certain way if you're serving it from. I've never really do it this way. I just try to find a fix in it and apply it to my text. But there's a certain way where you can actually serve the file if you're working on it from your machine up into this, and then pretty much you can save it, and the saves will actually show up on your file. But since it's on a remote site, whatever I do in my browser shouldn't be able to save into my server.
So the idea is to try to inspect it, fix it there.
Correct. It's
Just copy it from
exactly. Try to isolate it, or at least like exactly determine what's the root cause of the problem. So we see here we have main content, and in container you have a display block. So that's the user agent. And we have a div of quarter in here. Actually, we only have one. Let's do this. Oh yes, this is just spacing. So yeah, we could test that out. See. So yeah, we have our quarter. We have an H4 in here. So you see there's stylings for our H4. So we can click that. And it's a display block, blah, blah, whatever. And we can actually further extend, so I can say color, white. And we can actually test it out here and see how things look out. So before we had an HR. So we can actually go ahead and press delete and remove that HR. Okay, we don't really need that, which is good. So you can actually come here and say text, align, center, and we see that didn't work. Well, that's because it's being applied to the image. So let's go to the quarter and say text align, center, and boom, much better. So now we know, okay, how can we fix this in our code? For sure, for sure. So we can go to here. Let's remove our HR first. What'd you say? Oh, cool. Good one. And also we want to align the text to the center. There we go. So now if you go here, you can refresh. All right, cool. We forgot to give it a color. So now we can say is that, okay, for every was it H3 or H4? H4 inside of the quarter, make it white. So, or actually even better, we could tell it for every text inside of the inside of the quarter, make it white. So color, white. So now if we refresh now. All right, boom. Let's see how our buttons look at the bottom. All right, good. So now let's go ahead and create multiple of these. So we'll go ahead and copy this. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's go back to the site. Let's refresh. And here we go. Now we're starting to see something now. So now, let's just give our site a brief title. Now this is just styling. Any other functionality that we would add to this site. If you're creating a t-shirt company, go ahead, Fu. Huh? Hover. Okay, what do you want to do on hover? Huh? Okay, not bad. So here's what we're gonna do. Remember before that we were going to write JavaScript to do some effect on it. Now we're going to flip the switch around a slight bit, and you're going to use CSS to actually change the background. So background color, let's say to what? Let's go back to our flat UI. Our trusty tool, and let's pick out a color. So let's go from, let's say from black to asphalt. All right, cool. Let's refresh. All right, cool. But it just overrode it. I wanted to do it when we hover. So there's a pseudo property, I think it's called hover. They can add on a class or element or ID. Whenever this actually happens to it, then it'll add those styles to the element. So if I hover, and go to changes. Oh, still loading. Okay, but it's pretty abrupt. So there's another thing you can add. We can add some animation to it. Oh, no. Which is using some transitions. So there's a feature in CSS called transition, where we can say which property from the hover, right? So the background color, and we can say for how long. So transition over half a second. Actually, just make it 1 second. I'm pretty sure that's. So we can refresh this, and it's just smoothing out. There you go. So now it fades in, right, and just quickly blinking. Any other features now? These are just styles, yeah. By this pseudonym or pseudo property here. So you see, before it does it for this is the styles that get added to the quarter. Any element that have the class quarter. Now, when that element is hovered above, it'll add this style. And by using this element property right here, it says for hover behavior. Any other questions? All right, cool. Let's start adding features, guys. So far, our site only does stuff on sound. Yes, we can add sound. So we can add sound through HTML. So there's the audio tag, and then there's also, you can use JavaScript to trigger sound elements. So let's see how this works. So HTML audio. Let's see what that looks like to implement those, right? Pretty straightforward. It's just an audio tag. Oh, they don't have an example? I thought they had an example. Okay, there you go. So pretty much from here, you can see for yourself. How it ends up working out. So pretty much it comes out like this, kind of like a player. Now, we can actually take something like this. Let's see something. All right. I'm gonna give it an ID. And then we can actually use JavaScript to trigger it. Yes. Yes. So.
If you were to change it to have like, how would you change it to something another audio clip or was it?
Yeah. So it's not like a okay. So you can have. So the source takes a few different formats. So there's MP3, there's multiple audio formats, and you can find out the list of supported formats. But you can see here how it's audio OGG. That's Ogg Vorbis, and then there's MPEGs. So depending on what file it is that you're playing, I'll say the first thing to make sure is that you can actually play that file on the browser. And then from there on, when you're actually implementing it, make sure that you're using the proper source. So the reason why there's multiple source is that the Ogg Vorbis is more compressed, so it's a smaller file. So when a person loads it up and they have slower internet, it'll prefer to do it through Ogg Vorbis, and if their browser can even run it. But it uses MP3 as a failsafe. So by using multiple formats, you can make sure that anybody who accesses it has at least pretty much this compatibility to as many clients as possible. But it pretty much could have been just one. It would work fine. MP3 is a pretty universal. I'm pretty sure any browser can play, or any client can play MP3 at this point. But yeah, so I think we could use JavaScript to actually trigger So using what we've learned is that the native JavaScript is using the document.query selector, and then we want to put in the CSS style selector for it, which is player, because this is an ID. Now is where we would have to know, where we would have to do some research and say, okay, how using JavaScript to trigger the audio player, all right? So JS to trigger audio player. Playing audio with JavaScript. Boom, boom. HTML5 audio. There you go. Use this. Yada, yada, yada. We see on the same track. Alright, there you go. So there's the on can play audio through. So let's try this. We're gonna copy that real quick. And what we're going to do is that we're actually going to create an element. Since we're hiding this this audio thing, a person, we're going to change it so that person just clicks on a button and then it performs that action. So let's go ahead and create our button. So button. So here we declared a player to reference a player, and we're gonna do the same. So, actually, we don't even need to do that. So we can just do this. Oh, yeah. We could do this too also. Horse. Sorry, quick second, guys. Alright, cool. Create selector horse, and then we want to add an event listener. So that whenever the button gets clicked, to trigger the playing of the player. So that takes in, first thing is what type of event. So you want to say on, oh no, on, yeah, it was on click. And so what it was player, and it was dot on can play, yeah, through. I want it to be function this dot play. So let's see if this dot, actually no. It should be player dot play. The on can play through is the listener. So let's run that and see. Well, that's not working. So now we can. Did I run it? Yes, I did. Well, that's not running. Let's do by ID. Oh. So that way I don't need to do that. How did we do it before? Let's see. Oh no, we replaced it. Using jQuery. Oh, great. That's not what I wanted. You know what? No wonder. Okay. Scroll. Oh, my bad. Something happened to me. Let's see. Try to open this thing. So what happened is like there's like a dialogue that opened on a separate window, and it's just like freezing everything up. So I can't even like click. Oh, you know what? I know why. Let me just minimize. That's not working. Manually minimize. It does not want to minimize. Well, which means quit. I mean, quit the app. It's probably also because I have like a million tabs open and Chrome is just like hogging up my RAMs. Always leave developer mode on. It's gonna open like 39 tabs. It's gonna take forever to load. Yeah. But while we wait for this to happen, any other questions? Concerns? Yeah.
This class is simple, in, let's say, like a menu to connect to another page.
Can you say that again?
Like using a menu to click and then pass on to another page.
Okay, cool. Wait, so for navigation into another page, you'd have to use anchor tags, which is what we learned last workshops. So in the anchor tags, you specify what is the URL to go to. So when a person clicks on that anchor tag, the browser will take that person to there. Yeah, it's out there. So you probably would have to build the menu using HTML and CSS. Now you can force a browser to redirect the person somewhere else, but it's probably better to do it using the menu tag, so at least the user knows, hey, I'm going to this place. Any other questions? Yes. Okay, so padding. Let's think of, okay, you see this little gray box right here? Now, let's say I wanted to gray box to be a bit big, to have a little bit more distance here. So you see how this is a bit smaller? Actually, you can see, let's actually tweak the code so you can see it live. Give me a quick second for it to load.
I think we actually have a diagram in there for the
But yeah, there is. But I think seeing the difference live will allow you to understand it clearly. So let's say our code is our content, right? And padding or margin are just are there for spacing, right? Now there's spacing at different levels. Let's wait for this to just open up. All right. This is our p-tag right here. Or no, our p-tag right here. All right. So, what is padding? Padding allows me to make this the gray box fatter, right? So a pad of 40 pixels. All right. So in between the so it adds more pretty much padding or buffer or room between the border and the content. So if it was 0 pixels, there'll be nothing. Well, no padding, but by tweaking the padding, you're able to properly space and kind of center the content within the element. So that is what padding is. Now, let's switch a little bit now to margin. Margin is the distance between the border of your content and other object outside. So if I say a margin of 50 pixels, I'm telling this element to everything else outside of me is to stay a hell away from me. So that's what margin allows you to do. And if you do even 100, now you can see the difference. And those are the difference between padding and margin. Any other questions? No? Everybody seems good so far? Cool. Awesome. Well, we're 5 minutes till the end of this workshop, so I guess we'll use the rest of the time to, I guess, already answered any questions. Do you have a question? Go ahead. Can you say that again? And how long will it take us to post the video up? Caesar.
It should be up right away. It's on YouTube already. It's live streaming.
Oh, it's on YouTube,
Process,
yeah. So
process, and then it should be up like right after. And you can just watch it anytime you want.
yeah, and like I definitely recommend you guys. Caesar, did you send a recap with the URL to the GitHub?
Yeah, it's at the GitHub. Yeah.
All right, cool. So like Caesar had previously sent a recap to, for this for last workshop before coming here with the link to this GitHub. I definitely 100%. If you guys want to check out the video, probably like before you even check out the video, like check out these URLs because you might not even need the videos at the end of that because these are really awesome, like really good resources. You have absolutely no idea. And they'll just pretty much just skyrocket you throughout the rest of it. So I definitely recommend. Yes.
Could you post the Hello World one into that?
Yes, I can actually. And as a matter of fact, we're gonna see a little live example on how I can take the changes that I just made and actually post it on this site, onto my GitHub, right? So we have our changes. Oy. This is no bueno. Let me log into C9 real quick. Forgot about that bit. The cool thing is that C9 auto saves all the time, so it's a pretty cool environment to have and just work on projects. So before I mention how this is pretty much a virtual private VPS or as a server, a cloud instance. So it does come with a terminal environment. So this is a Linux. So this will pretty much be Ubuntu, I believe. So ls, pretty much we can have our docs in here. So if I cd back and I go into my working directory, I can go ahead into cd workspace ls and I start my Git project. So git init allows me to say that, oh, okay, let's start initialize this project as a Git repository. And I'll say git remote add origin. Since I have an existing Git project, I can tell it to, okay, now point it to this repository. Let me get the URL real quick. Okay, clone. Which you will learn if you guys do the learn Git, which is down here. Super useful. And extremely relevant in the workplace. So definitely take the time. It's 15 minutes to learn Git. So at origin, the URL, right? So I could do git pull. Oh no, actually I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna do git checkout -b. And I'm gonna say JS, which is the name of this branch. And I'm gonna say git pull origin master. Oh. Origin master is gonna get the latest. All right, cool. So git status. Oh. Oh. long. All right, cool. So I'm get readme hello world. Oh, hello world. The rig files. The zoo move files. Make sure everything's good. Okay. So I'm gonna say crude project from workshop 2. All right. So now I'm just gonna get push -u origin JS. And boom, it's pushed to Git repository. So now I can go, or even you guys can go over and refresh. Let me refresh. So now I should have 3 branches. So you see, it even says, "Hey, do I want to merge this?" I do not want to merge this because this is really like I do not want this to be live, or even into my master branch, which is what would represent what's live. So here, if you go to click on branch and go down to JS, is here you'll see all the files that we created from today. And you actually go to the Hello World HTML. You guys can actually just follow along. What I guess so you guys can see an example of pretty much some of the wait JavaScript right here of how we got everything working on that page. Yeah, that's that so far. Anything else? Yes, no. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for coming. I don't know if I'll see you guys next week, but they're definitely come to
the application, the database. And check out the video on YouTube again if you need.
Yes.
Right?
Feel free to come get.
Too if you want to
Yes.
get.
You got one. All right, no problem.
I have a couple actually. Which is the one? I can save for the next workshop, but I'm like, you see.
I'll take a JS.
I only got 4 now, so. You wanted the JS? Hey man, I'm sorry. You wanted the JS first.
Who?